Hello, my friends. Again, I say welcome to another episode on the S.M.N Sports Network. Again, we bring you an update on sports that is taking place across the world. In-depth analysis, deep diving into the things that make sports what it is and the sports that we talk about today, what makes it tick. So at this time, I'm going to turn over to our co-host on the program, on the platform, none other than Secretary to the Cricket Hall of Fame, the Honorable Dave Brown, who will introduce the Hall of Famers that makes up this panel. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yes, and thank you very much, Professor. We have, again, an elite set of panelists, and we'll start off. I'll do it from right to left, as I can see. We have the well-recognized, well-traveled, excellent commentator, administrator, coach, all-rounder. If you ever want an all-rounder, you have to look for Mr. Vernon Springer. He's a little bit under the weather, but I know his mind is not dulled by anything. And then we have the great John Melbourne, who is well known in the New York area and beyond for his iconic commentary on all things sports for the past 42 years. Won many awards and has been acknowledged and recognized for his contributions. And not least, the great Mr. Augustine Logie, whose reputation as one of the great fielders in the history of cricket, specifically Test cricket. He made the most dangerous position, arguably, his own, and he was very comfortable there. Mr. Augustine Logie, coming to us out of Trinidad and Tobago. And then we have the professor himself, the man who cuts the fat and goes straight to the bone of the matter. Sir Professor Trevor Smith. Welcome, everyone, and we expect to have another vibrant, interesting, mind-provoking, thought-provoking discussion this evening. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening to everybody.
Yes. And we don't want people, one slight correction, to think that Gus was only a great fieldsman. He was a more than reliable middle order batsman and a man for the crises. And he's known for featuring in some really significant partnerships, not only with Jeffrey Dujon, but with other players, including his first captain, Clive Lloyd. Very, very important member in that West Indies middle order that took over world cricket. So just so people don't think he was just a great fielder.
Thank you. Thank you. That bad fat position was by default. Nobody else wanted it, right?
Well, you made it your own. You made it your own, sir. So, Vernon, we are going to put you in the opening slot. And as we know, we have the World Cup, T20 World Cup ongoing. It's most teams have played at least 2 matches. A few of them have played 3 games. And your impressions so far and any surprises?
Well, first of all, let me give God thanks, and I think it will be important for me. Isaiah 40 and verse 26. Lift up your eyes on high and see who has created these things, who brings out their host by number. He calls them all by name, by the greatness of his might and the strength of his power. Not one is missing. I think tonight when we look here, God has ordained us with greatness. And when God ordains you for greatness, you will become great if you're willing to be great. So I am pleased to be part of this panel. And thanks very much for the prayers and the calls to just check to just make sure that I'm okay. But I really could not, even if I'm not 100%, I decided that at some point in time I had to come on tonight to really kind of just give you guys as much support as possible. And to wish all the ladies and everybody tomorrow, Saturday, a very happy Valentine's Day to the folks all over the world, just knowing that based on what's happening in the world right now, the world really needs sports. We saw what happened in the NFL Super Bowl. We've seen what's happening in the World Cup now. We've seen, the power of sports. Italy winning a game. We see what it means to those people in Italy. Zimbabwe winning today, beating Australia. That's the power of sport. And until when our leaders around the world understand the importance, and I'm talking about in the Caribbean because we only use sport in the Caribbean as a photo op. the Jamaica under-17 team qualify for the World Cup, and you're going to see everybody rushing to the airport, to be able to support those guys. But the struggle and the journey for those little boys who are going to go back to the rural areas in Jamaica, is anybody really going to be concerned about that and preparing them for that next level? These are the things that we're talking about. We have a set of young under-19 cricketers who didn't get to the next stage, but there's some talent there. When they come back to the Caribbean, who is going to take that talent? The Vital Laws and the Mackenzie and the Jackie Pollard. Who is going to nurture that talent? Because we're not short of talent. What we're really short of is having teachers like Gus Logie and company who are going to now teach these young cricketers the game. If we had a figurehead like a Gus Logie, or maybe even a Carl Hooper, or Otis Gibson on that tour, on the 19 World Cup tour, we would have got a lot further than where we were. And I'm not discrediting anybody who's been around the team, but I'm just saying we still need leaders of people who are going to teach the youngsters the finer points of the game. I came up under Gus as a coach. Gus was one of my mentors. So even though I was from the coaching Leeward Island, me and Gus Logie always had a serious conversation. Gus learned from me and I learned from him. And so we contributed, especially at the youth level. So you had the late Ralston Otto, the late Hayden Wald Sr. All of us came up around in the same time. And our objective was to be able to make sure that we taught the youngsters the game. It didn't matter if you were from Trinidad, if you were from Jamaica, wherever you were from. We just was concerned about West Indies cricket. And so I just wanted to kind of just get that input in. Let me congratulate the West Indies team so far. No surprises that they're doing that well. And I think we have to also take into consideration that T20 is a fast game. Very, 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 very fast. And on any given day, if you don't play well or you do not respect the game has a way of respecting you. Australia was defeated today because Australia were playing names. Oh, we're just going to beat those guys. You know, the game doesn't work like that. And it's very, very, very cool. And so, you're going to hear a lot of people. The big talk in Australia is that Smith should have gone on the tour. You're going to hear all sorts of situations. So sometimes when we're beating up on the West Indies, we have to also understand and we listen to what the folks are even saying about England. So Jeffrey Boycott says, oh, this team is a choker. So you're hearing all sorts of comments. So we don't feel bad in the West Indies when we hear them complaining. What hurts them is when West Indies beat them. So, when West Indies beat them, that is when it most hurt. If anybody has beat them, it's not a problem. Once West Indies beat them, boy, you're going to hear a lot of stuff. The team is a choker, X, Y, Z, and everybody starts to do the comparison. I've been listening at their Pandey. And we have to be very careful as we go on tonight, because sometimes you get the impression that India wants to not only control the cricket economically, but they almost want to come and tell Gus Logie in Trinidad and Tobago how to prepare a pitch because to suit them. So there's already talk now that, we want flatter pitches because you realize now that the Indians' deficiencies have been exposed, and they realize that the deeper that they're going to go into that tournament, there are a lot more teams are going to be able to exploit them. They haven't really come down into the hard competition. I'm not saying that they might not do well, but the further teams get more confidence, the more that teams will challenge them. If you look at the West Indies, from the history of the T20 World Cup, it started in 2007. West Indies got to the group stage in 2009, the semi-final, 2010 Super 8, 2012 champions, 2014 semi-final, 2016 champions, 2021 Super 12s, 2020 group stage, 2024 Super 8 in the Caribbean. We really could have gone a lot more further. Two coaches who have been successful, two former West Indian players who would have played with Gus Logie, Phil Simmons and Otis Gibson. And so it's expected that we will get to the Super 8 or whatever the formula is. Liking what we're seeing right now. And so we just hope now that somebody else can step up to the plate. Shea Hope has not really hit form yet. And Brandon King has maybe not teed off it. And I just feel that Brandon King is not watching the ball long enough. He's playing more for power and losing his shape rather than playing proper cricket shots. You can't tell me you're getting caught out on the boundary. You know what I mean? Because you're looking for an elaborate big cover drive all the time. You can still play proper cricket shots and maintain yourself. Ian Bishop feels that we missed a trick by maybe not having a wrist spinner. We can't carry what we don't have. And there's no perfect team. nobody knows what is going to happen. Cricket is played on the day. So right now, the bowling unit just looks creditable enough. I just want them to be able to continue to still stay sharp. We need to finish this group strong. Got to be able to make sure that we dismiss Nepal, dismiss Italy, and be able to send a statement to the world. Sometimes how tight this competition is, you really don't want to lose a game, but you also want to be able to make sure that you create that momentum. So I think it's a good headache for the coaching staff. I don't see them looking to change, but at the same time, maybe if we not when we get past the next game that we're playing, when we get past Nepal, then maybe we might be able to give a rest to a couple of people so that Matthew Ford and company can come in. Because when you get onto the business end, you really want to be playing your top team. So that's my contribution, guys, for the night. And thanks again for giving me this opportunity.
You are welcome, sir. And we will move down the line to, and thank you very much, Vernon. We'll move down the line to John Melbourne before Gus will take the baton for the third leg. John, you're on the back stretch.
In terms of this game, in terms of what has happened so far, I take it, right?
Yes, sir. Your impressions and your comments.
Thank you so much, Dale, and certainly, once again, a very good evening to our panelists. Again, thank you for having me as a part of this panel. First of all, let me just clear the air. Dale, Gus, are you listening?
Yes, I am.
Afghanistan?
I was waiting patiently.
Vernon is rubbing it in. He's rubbing it in, Vernon.
It's not really good to really kick someone when they're drunk. Okay? But I think we are all friends here. And it's friendly rivalry. Friendly rivalry.
Oh boy, my dark horse. Dark. Unless you won that second game, Gus, but I don't know. but in our first West Indies first game, I think they played. I think what has impressed me more than anything else so far is that we have batted first and been able to defend the totals. We have a history, so to speak, of chasing, and teams, I guess, like to have us bat first. But I'm impressed so far with what I have seen. The first game against who was that? Against Scotland. I didn't think it was going to be an easy game because Scotland have given us trouble in the past. However, winning by 35 runs, I was impressed. We got a 54-run opening partnership between Brandon King and Shea Hope. And of course, Shimron Hetmeyer came in and stepped up to the plate. And, we got contributions from Robman Powell and Sherfy and Rutherford. Actually, I was kind of surprised that Ruston Chase actually was left off in that first game. And, I guess West Indies corrected things by bringing him in for the second game against England. And certainly he made his contribution in that game because Ruston Chase came to the wicket at a crucial moment after we lost both openers with what, 2 runs or so on the board?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember how much runs was on the board, but Ruston Chase came to the wicket and kind of steadied the ship. For Sherfy and Rutherford again has come down in the middle order and did his job. With his he hit something like 7 sixes in his 70 not out, and was man of the match. I expect the team that played against England was actually the squad that I thought would have started the tournament, and I'm not sure what the wickets are like, when on game day, but I expect that squad 11 to remain the same. And, coming up against Nepal, yes, it wasn't our first team that Nepal beat recently. However, you never know what can happen on game day, as Vernon said. And you just have to put up your hand and come good and make sure we win that third game and to ensure us going into the Super 8. Beyond that, it's funny, but I really don't see any, if you want to call it, outstanding team so far. Personally, I don't think India has a team to win this tournament, nor Australia. So I am expecting some other team to win. Not sure what team that is going to be, but some other team is going to win this tournament. But we shall see when the final ball is bowled. Now that Afghanistan is out of the picture.
Oh boy.
Well, stranger things have happened, but I don't know how strange it would be for them to get in.
Thank you, dear.
Yes, thank you, John. And now, Sir Gus, I'll ask you now to summarize your impressions with West Indies team and what has impressed you most about them so far.
Well, I think congratulations are certainly in order, because I think even before the tournament started, many people would have given them, a pass mark in terms of their preparation, in terms of the win-loss situation, especially the last two series that they would have played. They was a bit inconsistent. I think people weren't too sure as to who bats where, and of course, in terms of the processes that they've been through. But certainly they have come together, and they have certainly stamped their mark so far in the preliminary round, if you want to call it that. I think the aggressiveness of their batting, we knew that. We knew that they play a high intensity game in terms of sixes. We know that they come hard at you because they are batting depth. And I think that's one of the reasons why West Indies always prefer to sometimes field first, because they believe they can chase any particular target, because that's been said on many occasions. And they have stated that their batting would be at full strength. It's looking good. And of course, their bowling would be the area that they feel if they need to win this World Cup, the bowling have to come to the party. But so far, so good. I think that, the batting has shown some consistency in putting up scores of 170, 180, and of course, almost 200. But going forward, we certainly will have to put up a bit more runs on the board. There's no two ways about it, because the tournament gets in and players and teams acclimatize some of the conditions. I'm certain that 200 score is going to be par on most of these wickets just now, especially in India. I think Springer alluded to the fact that the captain of, not the captain, but certainly one of the all-rounders, asking for flatter tracks. And I think when you look at the tracks that was prepared for India versus in that series before against New Zealand, scores of 240, 250 was almost commonplace. And I think maybe that's what they want to happen. And I think the world will certainly want to see scores in excess of 240, 250, especially in the Super 8s, when the Super 8 starts. So I think that is something that we're going to look forward to. But certainly for West Indies at this point in time, they have done themselves proud. I think 5-wicket haul for Shepherd in the first game with a hat trick. That's impressive. Again, Hetmeyer came out, even though we lost an early wicket, he came out within 10th. And I think that's a very good move, having him at 3, and he's playing very well. He's confident. Again, my biggest issue with most of our players is once they get starts, you really want them to carry on to get the big scores. Yes, 60 and 70 might be good now, but certainly you want somebody to go out and get 100. You want somebody to get 90, 90, not 1,000, or whatever the case may be in those situations. But certainly what we've seen also, the bowling is holding its own. We saw Jason Holder struggled a bit in the second game, but we know his quality. We certainly see the spinners coming into their own. All 3 spinners seem to be holding their own on subcontinental wickets. And I said before, Mookie in the middle is doing a fantastic job. Nice to see Aki Hussain back opening the bowling again, which I think is also a very good move. He seems to do a lot more with the new ball than he does possibly later on in the game. And certainly the off spinner in Chase is certainly has added something extra, not only with his bowling, but certainly with his batting as well. So I think the West Indies is well served. Consistency of effort is what's going to be important. To win a tournament like this, obviously, you need a little bit of luck, possibly at the end of the day, not just on your side, but also on the other side, somebody beating somebody else. A little injury situation here and there to some top players, not only on on the other teams and stuff like that. As I say, sometimes the stars may have to align to be able to win a championship. But so far, so good for the West. The tournament has served up some pretty good games. We've seen some fantastic fielding efforts on most teams. Yes, the odd catches have dropped, which are crucial stages for some teams who could have changed the game. We've seen that happen, but that's the way the game goes at this point in time. But at the end of the day, I think that all the top teams that we may have talked about getting into the top 8, I still feel that those teams are there. I think the most interesting group may be the group with Australia, certainly the group with Zimbabwe, Sri Lanka. And I think at this point in time, those three will be looking for 2 places. I'm not going to be like Mr. Melbourne to pick, but I still believe that Australia will make it. I know that they have some injury issues. I know that they are getting some reinforcement, but I do feel that if they humble themselves and play as well as I know they can play, I still feel that they're going to get through to the Super 8s. It could be between Zimbabwe and Sri Lanka. And the way Zimbabwe is playing now, I wouldn't put it past them to beat Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka better watch out. But I just want to praise the associate team. Well, I think the associate team have played a brand of cricket that has closed the gap on some of the top teams in the world. There's no two ways about it. When you look at some of the games they played, they really came out and gave a good account of themselves. And Nepal could have easily beaten England in that particular game. And that's going to be important. The USA could have easily upset India in the first game as well, albeit for a job chance against the captain, and he went on to make a fantastic 84. But I do feel there's still some upsets to come. Hopefully in the next few rounds, I can still see something happen. I just hope it's not from our side, but I'm certainly hoping, I'm certainly seeing something happen. I look at, the game 2 days ago, I think, between Nepal and Italy, and who would have thought, winning by 10 wickets in 18 overs, scoring 120 other runs against Nepal, who just a day or two ago was on a high. Obviously, that defeat would have put a spoke in their wheel and maybe made it difficult for them to motivate themselves, pick themselves up to challenge Italy. But I'm trusting and I'm hoping that we will see some more exciting games before the Super 8s teams are decided.
Thank you, Gus. Sir Professor, you're up, and your thoughts and impressions, and you may comment on your predictions also.
Well, let's cut the fat and get down to the bone. I expected that West Indies was going to move forward in the group. I said that based on where we're coming from, we can only go up. Okay, we know what we have been talking about. Our guys know what we have been talking about. They know how we have been analyzing and criticizing their performance from 10 different directions, unjustified and justified sometimes. And so I expect that they were going to go outside there and do their darndest to make us proud. I think we had to say that we had a top-heavy bowling team, and I like what I saw from the bowlers. I saw Shepherd taking good wickets. I saw Moti and Hossain, performing. Now, when they're doing as well as they did, and we won 2 games, and Holder and the Josephs have not really hit their stride as yet, then for me, that says that the bowling package is a strong bowling package. And when I look at the fact that we're putting runs on the board, and King and Hope have not hit their stride as yet, I think the rest of these teams should be worried. Okay? That we are winning without our top bowlers and our top batters really being the main contributing factor. That the team is a balanced team where we can get performance now from anywhere on the bowling platform and from anywhere on the batting platform. So we're not talking about King or Shope. We're talking about Etty and Rutherford, okay? And we never even got so deep that we're talking about, guys like Older coming in the background and doing what they do when they put them when push come to shove. Okay. Now, teams like UAE beating Canada, I mean, those are the first time to really take a look at some of the associate teams and see how well they perform. So I have to agree with Brother Vernon when he said that this game will humble you. Okay? This game will teach you a lesson. When you come along and think that, it's easy for you to walk over somebody, and it's not, it doesn't work out that way. And honestly, I would like to see the three teams that is getting all the money from ICC stand on the sidelines watching the finals. so, okay, because I need them to be humbled to realize that it's not the money now, it's the talent. Okay, but of course, if that happens, ICC is going to take credit for that and say that parity is coming to the league. Okay, but all being said, the game between the USA and India drew some record crowds, even though USA lost, but they were competitive. And the other game they played that they won, they were also playing good cricket. So that is other augur well for the rest of the tournament. So I'm really looking forward to see West Indies, be humble and take out the other two guys and don't get too carried away, okay? And let them go back now to square one. Start with the fact that our opening batters in the last game, were not focused as much as they should, even though the outs were not really careless outs, but they never made it past the first 5 overs anyway. All being said, I'm looking forward to the rest of the tournament.
Thank you, sir, Professor. And Vernon, we know that Hetmeyer, came good with the 64, and Gus's point about someone batting through the inning. I know that Rutherford came in with 3 wickets down, but he made 76 not out. So those are batting highlights so far. The openers have not sparkled as of yet. But your comments on Rovman Powell, because even though he has not made a big score in both games so far, he has been involved in 2 crucial partnerships. Mm-hmm. The one with Hetmeyer, which many persons won't talk about, but they added 81 of 37 deliveries. His contribution was 24, but it was crucial. It was very, very crucial. And then in the next game, he added for the 5th wicket with Rutherford, 51 of 29 balls. So I'd like for you, Vernon, just to comment a bit on Powell and finally on Jason Holder, who had a 6-wicket partnership. And I thought that was the partnership. Everything contributed, but that one was really that final nail. He ran the ankle leg, so to speak, with Rutherford when they added 61 of 32 deliveries for the 5th wicket. Your comments on those 2 batters in particular, Powell and Holder.
When we look back in hindsight, a lot of folks would say that why were some of the players like Rutherford, Hope, Holder playing in the South Africa T20, Hussein? But I think that sort of competition, playing in that competition, has certainly helped the West Indies team. And although personnel might have been complaining and say we didn't take our strongest team on the quick tours that we went on, just the niche of playing around the world, just like Gus in those days playing county cricket, it just shows, how ready you can be. Rutherford's form in South Africa, you could see he's a lot more mature, and you could see that the drills in terms of him batting. If you looked at him in the South Africa series, he wasn't really trying to muscle the ball. He was just trying to, he's improved on his game in terms of not all power. If you bowl him short, yes, he's gonna smack it out to the ground. You don't need to ask that. But he's also demonstrating now to be able to just play with a little bit of finisher touch by using the pace of the ball on the offside, which is almost like a good thing. So the batting from Holder has always been an experienced person. Rovman Powell, I think Rovman Powell is our live wire in the field, and he's our leading fielder in the T20 competition. And even when he was captain, he put himself in the fiery line in those areas there to be able to take those catches. Yes, just like anybody else, we're not perfect and we will drop catches. But the team is looking more and more dangerous. And I like what Gus said. I could see us, it doesn't matter what anybody gets. I think West Indies is going to be very hard to beat if they're chasing because they're dangerous. The Darren Sammy concept and the team that won the first T20 World Cup had the likes of Gale, Russell, you name it, Pollard. And Sammy has this sort of kind of concept, the Bravos and company, where in the West Indies dressing room from that team, they've always cemented how many sixes they want to hit, how many bunges they want to hit. And that is being instilled in this corrective team. And that is how Darren Sammy is going to play his cricket. And the guys are bought into that. And you realize on any given day, we saw Matthew Ford in a couple of the warm-up games. So if he gets a chance, he looked like he could be a pinch hitter who could be sent in early because he's a very good all-round player and he's a young player, so he's learning the game. So West Indies in itself look very, very dangerous. I just want us, as Gus and Professor SosoBone and John said, to be able to keep up that momentum. I want to make a quick point there because I know we want to get out of here by about 8:30. And Gus did make a point about the associate teams. Let's look at the teams in the competition. We have Asia, Europe, Africa, Oceania, and the Americas. So you have Asia, you have Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Oman, Nepal, UAE. Then Europe, we have England, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands, Scotland. And then we have Africa, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia. And Oceania, we have Australia and New Zealand. And the Americas, we have Canada, USA, and West Indies. There has to be, going forward, a new mindset from the International Cricket Council. Because since India has taken over the ICC, and this started taking over, when I say India, meaning moving over and taking over reins of the ICC and taking the reins away from the MCC, it was way back in 1993, you recognize in the history pattern that India has become real powerful. And let's look at the context of what just happened over the last couple of days, where Pakistan said, we're not playing against India. And it brought the ICC to their knees for the first time to be able to say, no, hey, hold on, boy, what am I going to tell Gus Logie, who we bought the rights from, that this game, which is supposed to be the money game, that Pakistan is not going to play, how is the image of the ICC going to look? And for the first time, we see a move. I also want to say also that when Bangladesh was thrown out of the World Cup, we have to be careful. West Indies voted for that. We got to pay attention to we have to pay attention to the geopolitics of what is taking place, right? And we've heard from Stalmeyer's time and Peter Shaw's time that the West Indies Cricket Board was never really strong in the boardroom. We can't be going looking to follow suit to everybody all the time. Sometimes we have to be able to take a stance in principle because we don't know what is going to happen down the road. Got to be very, 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 very careful. So the point that I was making is that Gus was saying, listen, I'm a proud of the associates team. But let's look at equally how the money is being shared. The ICC proposed finance model from 2024 to 2027 sees the associate nations crying out for more money. Now, when you have the associate nations crying out for more money and not being able to be exposed to play against top quality teams, and you see them right now, Gus made the point, you could see them with this, despite the little finances that they have, narrowing the gap to work or whatever. And we were praying that at least Afghanistan would have maybe just knocked off one of those teams and Nepal knocked off of England, so somebody could be able to start to pay attention and say, hey, no, hold on, what's going on here? Well, let's kind of pay attention to these things. I don't think it is fair, based on the model that ICC is proposing. We have to go, gentlemen, and my panelists, to what FIFA has done. The smallest country, or one of the smallest countries in the Caribbean, Montserrat, gets the same money as Brazil or England. So if FIFA designed that model, why is ICC not trying to be able to make sure that we improve in terms of the income to help the smaller nations? Not just have them there for a vote, but at least to be able to put more resources for the Bermudas and them. Now, West Indies, we have a responsibility, guys. We are supposed to be the father figure in the Americas region for the USA and for Canada. And we have just left our void. We have backed off. We're supposed to be having a serious conversation between Canada and the United States of America to be able to help with our cricket. Because if we don't, we have to be seen as the father figure. Because who is going to help us? We went to India. We went as beggars. Do we really feel that taking Sir Viv, taking Brian Charles Lara, taking Sir Richie Richardson, that we were going to get money from India? That really was our concept? Do you think that India is going to allow Gus Logie to come in there and get 20 million to come back to the Caribbean to come and beat you? So the point I'm making is that's why we need to have an alliance with USA and Canada, because that's where most of our diaspora people are. If we do well in this World Cup and we win the World Cup, who is going to support us? Is the people in the diaspora going to support us? India is not going to support us. Yes, it doesn't matter which West Indies team go on the field, whether it is the women, the men. We are a billion-dollar team. Whether we win or we don't win, people all around the world are going to support us. So we have to understand that and market that properly. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Vernon. And we will come back to some of those points. And John, you made mention of Ruston Chase, that you were surprised that he was not in the team that played the first game. And I noted he came in and played a solid knock, good knock. But I've always thought that Ruston is one of the more intelligent bowlers around. And I don't know if anyone noticed it. He got hit over deep mid-wicket for a 6. And the very next ball, he went around the wicket just to change the vision of the batter, just to change his perspective of the ball. And of course, the batter tried to repeat the shot, and this time he was caught out in the deep. And I also noticed Chase was constantly setting his own field. You could see him with his hand signals, no, come around some more, come up some more. He was waiting on the captain to do anything. And one other thing I would like for you to comment on, in addition to Chase, was Shepherd. After getting carted for a couple of boundaries, Hope ran up from behind the stumps and calmed him down. And he went on to take the hat-trick, in the next over, I believe. So those two things stand out to me, that someone seemed to be responding and adapting to the moment. Your thoughts on that, John?
Well, yes, I do agree with you, Dale. And you met that wicket that Chase took when he was hit for 6, and the very next ball he got the wicket. I said, but that is Ruston Chase. I have always thought that Ruston Chase is has to be a key member of our West Indies team. He might not be the most flamboyant batsman, not necessarily the greatest bowler, but somehow he gets the job done at crucial moments in a game. Or he might take the big catch that changes the game. So I am not. I was surprised that he was left off in the first game, but happy to see him back in the team in that second game, and he did make his contribution. And I expect to see him in the squad for the rest of the series. Now, I know Sherfield Rutherford, I think he got hurt in that second game and left the field at some point. And I'm not sure what his condition is for the Nepal game, but I saw an interview with him and he said he'd be ready. Dale, Vernon just said something that we have spoken about several times. You and me and Professor, about the revenue sharing. matter of fact, I have even taken it a little further by saying the 9 teams who are not getting their fair share of the revenue sharing, and the 90-something associate members maybe should break away and form their own cricket league council and pattern it after FIFA, as Vernon said. And we have said that FIFA shares, everybody get that equal money, no matter how big or small you are. Because FIFA is into, I guess FIFA believes that the better the little teams are and the more competitive they become is the more money FIFA is going to make. And I can't figure out why our ICC can't see that if you develop our associate teams and they become quite competitive, that you are in a position now to be making more money, because you're not only going to see India play Australia or England play England in Ashes series, but you could very well be seeing an Australia playing an Oman, and it's a big series because they have developed now and become a pretty good team. So yes, I think I asked you this question before, Dale. The difference between MCC and ICC, who runs the cricket? Because I can't see one making the rules and then somebody else organizing the cricket. FIFA makes the rules and they organize competitions. So you have the template. Why is the IC or cricket? Why is cricket refusing to follow that kind of a template?
And Dale, just quickly, let me just before you go to Gus quickly, I just wanted to, for folks who are listening to our panel, because it's about the education on this panel so that we can educate people as to what we're talking about. From the ICC proposed finance model from 2024 to 2027 is $600 million US. Full members get 532.84 million. India gets 38.5% of that, which is 231 million US dollars. The associate members get $67.16 million out of 600 million. And let me just break it down quickly so folks can understand what we're talking about, because our job is to educate people. Out of that 600 million and the 532.84 million, here's the breakdown. Afghanistan gets 16.82 million. Australia, who's part of the big three, 37.53 million. Bangladesh, 26.74. England, 41.33. Ireland, 18.04. New Zealand, 28.38 million. Pakistan, 34.51 million. South Africa, 26.24 million. Sri Lanka, 27.12 million. West Indies, 27.50 million. And Zimbabwe, 17.64 million. So if we look at the percentage, right, and we're talking about the percentage share of earnings, India gets 38.50% out of 600 million US dollars on the proposed finance model. And this model is started from 2024 and will run until 2027. All other countries' percentage are as low as 2.80. So you realize nobody else, India just controls the whole market. Just the same question that you were talking about in terms of the MCC and the ICC.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Mm-hmm.
Professor. I mean, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Vernon. Professor just came up on the scene, but I'm gonna go to Gus first, so that Gus can give first, Gus, you can branch off if you so desire. But I would like for you have always spoken about the importance of batters continuing, not just giving away their wickets when they get to 50 and 60 runs. And we saw Rutherford carry on after getting a great start, and he was there at the end of the inning. Your thoughts on that and comments, and you are welcome to introduce anything else you so desire.
Yeah, I think that's commendable for Rutherford. I think the intention was to take it deep and to finish the inning. And I think you have to commend him for that, for doing so. However, as I said before, in doing that, you need a little luck because you're going hard at the ball and stuff. So yeah, there was about maybe two, maybe a chance or two in that particular innings. In another possible situation, he could have been caught on the boundary because we see some really incredible boundary catching. You know, I am amazed really every time I see how these guys get to the boundary, catch the ball, flick it back in, get over, come back in. Sometimes they flick it to the other partners. It's just amazing theater to watch. The level of competence, the balance that they have at the end of the day to really do what they do. And I think it's something that I love seeing. So again, what we have to make sure is that when these guys get into good positions to 30 to 40, that they really go deeper. They take it to, 80, 90, even 100. That will make sure that the difference between possibly a 170 or possibly a 200. When you look at that particular, we lost 2 quick wickets, as you say. I mean, at the end of the day, or 3 with quick wickets. You talk about the floater in Chase. He, to me, in the team is almost like a floating player because if you had a great start and you're going guns, I don't think Chase would be batting that early. He will be pushed down the order. But of course, you lose some wickets, he comes in there to try to stabilize the inning. And I think it is very good to have that flexibility in your batting lineup. And I think West Indies have that. And I think it's great to see the players understanding that because what you've had in teams in the past, players believe that they are specialists in certain batting positions. And if they don't bat in that position, they tend to have a little bit of a attitude and they don't feel like I'm batting out of position and stuff. But what we're seeing is that the team understands game situations and game awareness, and they are prepared to fit into whatever role that is being asked of them by the management. So I think on that side of things, it seems to be working fine. And I'm happy to see that materializing as the word that they always seem to use a lot is that they were able to execute. So I'm quite happy to see them execute in the 2 games thus far. But as I said before, there's no two ways about it. Once they get out of the Super 8s, you're going to have tougher opposition. You're going to have players then making less mistakes. Let's put it this way. Chances that you may have gotten in one game, you may not get another. So I think those players who are on form right now have to really realize that and accept that and make sure that they minimize those mistakes. Those 1%, they might make sure that they do them well. And I think it will serve us well going forward. So the focus must be there still. I think that intensity must be there still. I hope that they keep healthy so that we have no issues when that is concerned. And I have no doubt they can go as deep as they can and even win it. As I said, West Indies is my dark horse, no two ways about it. I do feel that it's an opportunity for them. It seems 2016 was the last time they won it. It's 2026. So who knows? Maybe it's some kind of moment that they could win it 20 years later. They say lightning don't certainly could strike twice in the same area. We saw it some time ago with Lara scoring a world record in Antigua, and a few years later, almost then break it again. So you never know. Could be our time. But I think it will have to be a situation whereby they will have to make sure they understand that a little bit of luck here and there, good management, and certainly keeping that focus and that intensity as long as it's possible. And certainly they can do well. As far as Springer's talked about the sharing of the wealth, I mean, hey, let's put it this way, India, the BCCI, and everyone says that 80% of the ICC revenue may be coming from India, whether it comes from the business associates, the TV rights. So they are not going to have 80% of the income. And basically say to you, I'm going to give you, an equal share. They're going to go for more. And I can guarantee you, in the next 2 to 3 years, they're going to be asking for more money because they're going to be thinking they're going to be bringing more money into the coffers. And hence the reason why we saw what happened with the Pakistan pullback. Even Bangladesh was one of the instigators so that, hey, you got to play the game. You got to play the game because it will affect all of us, our income in the next possibly cycle. The associates may be getting less and they will get it if that game between India and Pakistan did not take place or don't take place. So again, they are the money drivers, they're the money earners, and really and truly, whether we like it or not at this point in time, until we can get some other entity to bankroll cricket, like the Saudi Arabians or somebody to come in and say, oh, we have more money than the BCCI, and we want to run it. That's the only way I'm seeing that they're going to be able to share it equally. But I don't see that it's going to be because of a good heart from the Indian, from BCCI, that is going to happen. To be quite honest.
Okay, thank you very much, Gus. As usual, very insightful. And Professor, you're up, and Vernon has opened this can because he's mentioned what we spoke about, I believe, in our last program, and of course, the revenue sharing. And obviously, countries are voting because they have to vote to accept what is proposed to them. That in and of itself is somewhat disturbing. And what is also disturbing, as Vernon mentioned, that West Indies voted against Bangladesh. You know, when the time came, they didn't vote for them. And it is somewhat surprising for people who are descendants of the region, whether it's the Spanish part of it or the English speaking part of it. We know that Puerto Rico, they have a great history of slave rebellions. We know Jamaica, whether it's the first or the second Maroon War that they had there, and we have a reputation as a fighting spirit, just like the Puerto Ricans. We won't even mention Haiti because I think Haiti is at the top of the ladder where this is concerned. We speak about Guyana, the Demerara rebellion, and we're going way back. And we remember the Forbes Burnham and his revolutionary stance. Remember Grenada, not from Maurice Bishop necessarily, but from the rebellions in 1796. Dominica, the Bella slave revolt. Cuba, not the Fidel Castro rebellion, but the Aponte rebellion from 100 years prior. The British Virgin Islands, and I'll just stop at Barbados with the Bussa rebellion. So we have a history of all of that, Professor. And we come up to people like a CLR James and other Caribbean, you know, Marcus Garvey, Claude McKay, all of these great individuals. We know Louis Farrakhan has roots in Jamaica. We know Malcolm X has roots in the Caribbean. And it's not by coincidence that these people were civil rights leaders in the United States and brought a certain amount of awareness to our plight in the world. Professor, your comments now as far as the revenue sharing and tying it in with our reluctance to be revolutionary in this regard.
Well, you know, Brother Dale, I like the historical quotes that you had, but you from my point of view, you missed the greatest rebellion that took place. You missed, for example, the Nat Turner rebellion. Okay, you missed the civil rights movement in America, and you missed the and you missed the rebellion that America had against the British. That resulted in their
no, Professor, it's not a miss. I'm focusing on the Caribbean region.
I understand that.
I'm not coming to the Americas. I'm dealing with the Caribbean.
But you see, and the reason why I bring it to because when we talk about the money factor, and we're talking about Saudi Arabia.
But it's the Caribbean region and our.
Yes, I'm getting there.
Right.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. We are looking at India as being a money machine, but at the same time, we're looking at the Western expansion of cricket into the USA. And there's a money machine over here. And when it gets developed, India is not going to get the percentage they're getting out of the West Indies market. They're not going to allow it. Because we have money. India has more population, but there's more money on the Western in the Western hemisphere where we are. And that is why I like what Brother Vernon said earlier. That we control what is happening over here. We might have to call it the Vernon doctrine. Yes, but when it comes to cricket in the West here, the West Indies cannot stand alone when we talk about Brazil down there playing cricket, Guyana, coming right up into US and Canada. We have to determine that we want cricket to be established in our zone on our terms, not on India's terms. Because that is what's happening right now. The breaking news is that Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar has planned a new cricket council. Okay, and that is expected to be something that they want to start to compete against ICC. Why would that be breaking news coming out of the cricket world right now? It's because they are dissatisfied also. People do not have a revolution and break away to start a new ICC, a league to compete with ICC if they're satisfied. You're only breaking away when you're dissatisfied. It says Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar are planning to start a new cricket council to compete with the ICC. Some current cricket countries and some new countries will be part of this council. This move could be a big shock for India and the ICC. Players will be paid very high money, so they will not want to play in any other league. More information is coming soon. This was posted on LinkedIn on Monday. Yes.
That's why I said Saudi Arabia, you got to get them
Okay.
involved.
So,
Okay.
That's where the
Professor,
money is.
yeah, so Professor, again, what is surprising to me is the tiger without the tooth mentality in the West Indies. So again, we need to focus on the West Indies and on the Caribbean. And remember, in 1909, it's three countries, that form the ICC. And because we keep saying the ICC, sometimes people lose focus that the ICC is actually made up of member countries, and they are the ones who actually do the voting. So we are empowered, and we are not using that power. And what is surprising, again, I would have expected, and I think that is one of the points that Vernon is making, that coming from such a rich history, a history steeped in rebellion, not the type of rebellion where you come and get rewarded over here. Haiti, God knows, is still paying the price for their rebellion. So there's no reward for them. But at some point, we have to stand up and we have to be leaders in this regard. And this is the reason why we focus that we have people in the Caribbean like ourselves who can lead that charge and give these people those ideas, because it's not going to come from them. Because if it comes from them, we are going to find ourselves being slaves to different masters. And we need to be masters of our own destiny. And that's why we need to be leaders in this regard.
Yes, but simultaneously, we have not been having the type of government type of support to address, for example, cricket, like some of the other countries where they're leveraging what their players can do and where their players can go because they have an interest in cricket as a part of their culture. Now, I say this because when I look at Jamaica, we cannot identify a strong person in the government of Jamaica who think that cricket is as important to develop as agriculture, as tourism, as bauxite. When they identify a resource in the Caribbean that they talk about developing, it is not the people, it's some product. And the strength is not in the product. The strength is in the people. So when you're talking about the rebellion, okay, it's not a product rebellion you're talking about. You're talking about a people rebellion. Okay? So, and I draw attention to what Saudi Arabia is doing, because when it says other countries, I don't know if they're having conversation with our CEO and our president in the West Indies and saying that, listen, you guys are in a bad boat, and we are looking to compete, do something else, and you have more credibility than we do. So they might be looking at us to lead something, but they are the guys with the money to finance it. That is something that we can bring to the table, because if it's happening, then we need the president of West Indies Cricket to come and say, well, they did contact us, because I would like to know, since this thing has gone global on LinkedIn, whether or not Shallow has a conversation with these people. Because I would think that when they quote the fact that other countries are being contacted, is West Indies one of them? Because as Vernon says, or as Gus said, we're gonna find somebody willing to come in and bankroll. Okay, that was what he said. We need somebody to come in with the money to bankroll. So when I hear that Saudi Arabia and these rich countries are planning something, I'm thinking that they're looking at the guys who are hungry. Okay?
Professor, I'm telling you, I'm sorry to say it, but we are going to be left, we have been left behind in our administration for a long time. Mr. Springer brought up the fact that West Indies really and truly should be the godfather or the big brother in the Caribbean to really and truly provide places like America, Canada, Bermuda, and all the cricketing like Caymans and Bahamas and all these cricketing things in the Caribbean to really be the godfather, to be sending personnel to these countries to upgrade their cricket. We have so many stars in the Caribbean that made West Indies cricket great throughout this world. But yet still America cricket, you cannot see one West Indian player from the Caribbean playing for America, neither for Canada. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Those countries have been now hijacked by Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka. Whether you like it or not, it's the same thing in Canada. Years ago, I coached Canada. I played cricket in America. And years ago, we had a lot of West Indians playing cricket for America, for Canada. You don't see one. You don't even see them now on a board, much less. And yet still the West Indies cricket board is saying they're looking to go down to somewhere. Recently they went, where was it? El Salvador, one of those places, to try to really revive cricket when you can't even revive it in cricket playing countries. Bermuda is here. I'm in Bermuda right now. Bermuda is struggling. Bermuda made a World Cup in 2007. Bermuda cricket is at its lowest ebb. And yet still you cannot get the support from West Indies to really lift Bermuda cricket to a standard that it should be. It's total chaos. You know, I really do not have much hope, really, into whether it's a new dispensation coming along, that we in the Caribbean are prepared for anything like that. We just do not seem to have the stomach for the fight. We are just happy to accept whatever is given to us, and at the end of the day, stay quiet.
And Dale, let me endorse that point there.
Yes.
By what Gus said. In 1978, all of us know what happened when Kerry Packer came on the scene.
Yes.
Just as our Professor SosoBone was talking about, there was a revolution. Packer moved around and asked the West Indian players, how much money are you guys being paid?
Yeah.
He went to England. He knew how much money that Australia were being paid through the television rights. So just the point that Gus was making, a revolution started in 1978 because Packer thought that the players were not being paid. Now, you could look back at it and say, oh, well, yeah, West Indies was playing in pink, but Packer was the man who engineered and made a difference, just what the point what Professor SosoBone was talking about. He came and revolutionized cricket to a point. Alan Stanford was in the Caribbean, and Gus made a strong point. There were people who were in West Indies cricket at the time, Teddy Griffith and company, who when Alan Stanford said, I want to invest in the entire Caribbean, which means that I can get Leverock from Bermuda opportunity, and I can give Lionel Baker from Montserrat an opportunity, and I can give Kyron Powell an opportunity from Nevis, not a Leeward's team, but an individual team, countries with their flag coming to play in a competition. He wasn't concerned about results. What he was concerned about was developing the game in all of these Caribbean countries. Cayman, Tia Coffee, one of the brilliant coaches out of Trinidad and Tobago, served Cayman cricket for a number of years. Gus was talking about West Indian players playing. We have Nicholas Cotton, who is the captain from Barbados. You have Aaron Brown from the USA, was part of it. You had Stephen Taylor. You got a couple of guys. But because of the turnoff and us not supporting Canada and USA consistently, in fact, it's amazing that Gus said what he said. In 2024, 2 under-19 teams came from the USA to the Cricket West Indies under-19 tournament. When Gus and myself used to coach, we always used to have either a Canadian team or USA team coming to the under-19 tournament because it was competition for Trinidad and Tobago, the Leewards, Windwards, and you had to lift your game. Those 2 teams two under-19 teams. One of them got to the final. In fact, one of them was undefeated. Yeah, right? Right? Because we don't feel that it is important to pay attention to what is happening. Listen to what Gus was saying here. Winston Benjamin from Antigua and Barbuda has his academy. Winston Benjamin took his academy team to Bermuda 3 years ago without any support from the Antigua and Barbuda Cricket Association and any support from the Leeward Islands Cricket Board because nobody understood the vision. I was a small boy coming up professor and panel, and Michael Holding came to St. Kitts under the leadership of Dwyer Astafan, who was the president. Michael Holding, and they took an invitational St. Kitts team to Bermuda to play. And Michael Holding was the sort of quiet captain going there. You had Desmond Haynes, who came to St. Kitts and took a team to Bermuda. You had teams that left from Antigua and used to go to Bermuda. That does not happen today. Just what Gus was talking about, because we don't see the importance of it. So you can't vex with Gus. And that's why sometimes, guys, when you guys call me, I say, should I still be championing this cause to fight for this cricket? But I do so with a sense of pride that the game cricket has built me and it has brought me to where I am today. And so I feel like I have an obligation as one of the disciples to continue the fight and believe that somewhere along the road that there's a light at the tunnel. And I think this panel that we're on, we have to make a difference. Maybe we might become the administrators. Maybe we, with our experience and our expertise, might become the administrators to guide some people. Because what is automatically happening in the Caribbean right now, we're seen as outlaws. If Gus and myself talk in a program in Trinidad or in Jamaica or in Barbados, or who them there be, who they always blah, 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 talking. But the fact is, we have lived it. We have seen it. Nobody could tell me and Gus about youth cricket in the Caribbean. When we were on youth cricket, Chris Gale, Wavell Hines, Sherwin Campbell, Brian Lara, Carl Hooper, those guys used to make hundreds for Badmine. Wherever you were playing under 19 Northern Telecom cricket, you're sitting down to hear who is going to make 100. Boy, Dave Joseph from the Lee would make 100. And Brian say, what? And me ain't back yet? Tomorrow, Brian going to make 100. That was what the competition was like. That was what happening. And while I'm on this, guys, the Chief Commercial Officer for Cricket West Indies, Rupert Hunter, has resigned, citing family commitments as the reason. So I know Professor SosoBone brought some breaking news. I brought some breaking news also for our panel.
Who is this again, Vernon?
The Chief Commercial Officer who was employed by Cricket West Indies, Rupert Hunter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he has resigned from Cricket West Indies, citing family commitments as the main reason. And as you know, we do not have a sponsor in a World Cup that it looks like we're going to win. When we were champions twice in the two T20 World Cup. Now, I'm sure, and I can put my neck on a block here, Gus, that if Professor SosoBone and myself and John was to get together, we can find a sponsor for Cricket West Indies team.
Okay, you see, now you're talking, Brother Vernon.
Okay, so gentlemen, we are on the same team, and Vernon and Gus and Professor, you're all saying what I'm saying in some little different ways, and it's important. We are the revolutionaries of today. And if we are going to sit down, they use West Indians to save the Lancashire Leagues in England. They use West Indians to save the Australian Sheffield Shield in the early 60s. They use West Indians to save English county cricket in the late 60s. They use West Indians to save cricket from a commercial point of view with Kerry Packer. They use West Indians to save Test cricket again in the 80s. Okay, now, when you bring up Adam Sanford, of course, no problems there. Now, once we start going back to serving the master in any way, shape, or form, that is going to be a downfall for us once again. We need to parlay this power into something just like what we are here to educate the people and let them know what power lies in our own hands and our political history from the times when we needed it. We as a people have the pedigree and have the gumption to fight for our rights. And we have always shown it, always, just like anybody else in the world. But we must fight it for ourselves. We must fight it as leaders and not as followers. And that is where I believe we have to be very careful that we want to move from the left and go over to the right, who is going to do the very same thing that the left is doing in some other way. We have to exercise our power. So
if we allow them, Brother Dale.
yes, and that's why we have to make sure people are and people know where we are coming from. You look at track and field in the Caribbean, in Jamaica in particular. We did not wait for anybody to come and dictate to us. We trained our athletes on dirts and on stone and everything, and trained them to become world beaters. And we have a great influence in the world of track and field. We may not make the most money or whatever, but we have athletes for the past how many years that have flown the flags, whether it's two athletes from Grenada, Keyshawn Walcott, James, all of these guys, Karani James from Grenada, Shawnee Miller, Richard Thompson, Jareem Richards from Trinidad, and then the whole host of Jamaican athletes. I am not for us just being part of something without having power there, where we're just going to follow. So I just want the viewers out there to know that is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about real power, not going somewhere and begging for money. We should not be doing that, because if we keep saying we don't have money in the region to do these things, then we'll never have the money in the region. We didn't know that England would be on the precipice of perhaps not qualifying for the Super 8. We didn't know that Australia would be on the precipice for not qualifying for the Super 8. And there's a real possibility that one out of the two of them or both of them. And if they do make it, they're going to scrape it by the skin of their teeth. So if we look at it from a positive point of view, and that we do have the power within our hands, that we can be leaders rather than just follow the Pied Piper, whoever that Pied Piper might be.
And yes, and again, it came back to your very opening statement about the history, that that is from Simon Bolivar coming all the way up. We identify fighting spirit in just about every country, small and large. So that part is not missing. It's the weapons and the tools that they need to go to war that's missing. Okay? That is what's missing. And yes, on this platform, the media, I've said it on many other platforms, that the media is one of the weapons that we have to fight for our people, to motivate them, to show them the way, to show them that other countries are getting together and forming something to compete against ICC and the disparity, showing them what other people are doing, and that we had the opportunity, still have the opportunity to do it, because sometimes people give up. People think that it's hopeless. Everybody around is drowning, therefore I'm going to drown too. And if he stand up straight, you realize that the man 5'2" was drowning, but he's 6'6". He's 6'6". So when he stands up, he's above water. We have the history, as you said. We have saved other people. So if we can save, if you can be the lifeguard to save other people, then we should be developing, we should be talking about how much easier, therefore, it should be for us to save ourselves. How can we identify we have saved so much and then we can't save ourselves? We have the track record of saving others. We bring it to the table and we construct our own empire. And as Brother Dale says, we're not short of money. We're short of salesmen. We're short of people who knows how to put a proposal together to appeal to the people who have the money. So T20 comes along and they put a proposal on the table and everybody come to support T20. So can Guyana put a proposal on the table so business support Guyana? Can Jamaica put a proposal on the table so Jamaicans support Guyana? Jamaica? Every one of them brag about they have a government and they're independent. Every one of them. And says, sometimes you might have to do like this guy over here is doing and say, something, I want Greenland. before people stand up and say, hell no, it ain't happening.
Professor, you talk about, you know, we
You
have it,
understand?
keep talking about the fact that we have it within ourselves to be successful. We have the wherewithal, but the people that we have who are to make those decisions on our behalf, we put them in office to make those kind of tough decisions.
You put
But
them in to take them out.
they have not made those tough decisions. They are the one. Look at CPL. No, we're talking about, you know, real thing here. That was ours. That was the West Indies. That was supposed to be our T20 tournament. It is not. We are like beggars in it. You know, we are hoping that they give us something at the end of it or even before it started. There were promises made before CPL was formed, you know, that they were supposed to bring on some young players. They're supposed to have academies in different countries. We're supposed to get this exposure. We're supposed to get X, Y, and Z. What are we getting?
Well, we need,
What
we
are
need,
we really
Hold
getting?
hold on, Professor. Professor, just to support what Gus said.
Yes.
13 years ago, CPL promised to bring their own sponsors. You remember I was on a talk with you guys? The Republic Bank of Trinidad and Tobago is the title sponsor for the Caribbean Premier League, and Cricket West Indies is struggling to get a sponsor. All these sponsors were supposed to come from outside to be able to help. And Gus, when I say it, sometimes a lot of people don't like when we say it, but we are almost like bare beggars. Cricket West Indies based on the deal. They signed a deal for 25 years, you know. We signed away our T20 league for 25 years.
and we need to keep telling our people about it. When they
And-
when they betray us, we need to keep on hammering it over and over every time we do a program. We let our people know that we were betrayed. When we talk about the West Indies cricket not getting anywhere, we need to itemize the reasons. Okay, we are the one with the microphone. Okay, then 99% of our people don't know what you know.
But even let's go a little further, Gus. So Clive has just been nominated, I think in a couple of weeks, to be president of
Lancashire.
right? But Sir Clive is from Guyana, and Guyana is boasting as to how much money they have and how much infrastructure and how much they want to be the body of the cricket in the Caribbean. But Sir Clive Lloyd's name, Professor Dale, Gus, is on no stadium, Providence Stadium, where you could pass and say the Clive Lloyd Stadium. But Sir Vivis in Antigua and Barbuda, Sir Garfield Sobers in Barbados, right? And nobody wants to have that conversation as to Sir Clive was done all these wonderful things for West Indies cricket, except to put his name up on a stadium, the main stadium in Guyana, with the world watching, and could be able to say, yes, Clive Lloyd did it. And I wanted to make that on this program here because I did it on Sean Deaver's program. And you know what I was told, Gus? Oh, they're building many more stadiums in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
So Clive's name can go on Providence Stadium. Red Sprawer's name was one of the commentators who journeyed around the world with Tony Cozier, slept in almost on a train anywhere, got knocked out. His name can go on the media center in Guyana.
But Springer, I'm going to go even further. I'm going to get even more controversial as far as that is concerned. We in the Caribbean, we talk about Caribbean cricket, talk about unity, we talk about one, you know, at the end of the day. And until I can be convinced that in the Caribbean, we really care about West Indies cricket and the people who played West Indies cricket who have made it the success that it was and can be, when I could walk down the streets in Jamaica and see a poster with Brian Lara on it, and I could go to Trinidad and see a poster with Curtly Ambrose on it, when I could go to Guyana and see a poster with Sir Viv on it, or when I could go to Antigua and see a poster with Sir Clive on it, that is when I would say we are something about unity for West Indies cricket. We care about the people who represented us as a Caribbean people. Until
Gus,
gentlemen,
hit the nail on the head. I know we got to go.
Yes.
But listen here, Professor SosoBone. Listen to the point that Gus just made. When you come to the Stanford Cricket Ground in Antigua and Barbuda, that's exactly what Gus was trying, what Gus just said that Stanford was trying to do, to be able to make sure that we recognize our heroes. Nobody supported it. Nobody understood what the same point that Gus was talking about.
Okay. Yes, and Vernon and Gus, excellent points. And this is where it starts from. If the people don't know their history,
This is
not
what this
somebody
panel
else.
is for, Brother Vernon. This panel
Right,
is for you to point out these things.
right. And we have done that. We, Professor and everyone, we have been doing it, hammering it. And we ourselves have to be students of that history and bring it not from where we know it from, but from where it actually started. And what I'm saying to you all, if we do not teach our history in our schools, for example, I knew everything about American history. What I didn't know anything about my own history. It wasn't taught to me in schools. Okay, and it probably happened to all of us. So our own cricket history, from that point of view, we need to keep practicing speaking about it, which I know every time I listen to Vernon, he keeps hammering that point around. Professor, you keep hammering that point around. We are doing what can be done, and we just have to do it from a revolutionary point of view. Because when, for example, a Sir Hillary gets appointed as the chancellor for the United Nations University, he doesn't go there as an American person or as a European. He goes there and speaks from a Caribbean perspective. He has to do that because otherwise, all he's going to do is merge in with a worldview that doesn't fit the Caribbean. And we have to look at the cricket view fitting from a Caribbean perspective, not from anybody else's perspective, because that is not going to do us any good. It is not. And we have saved cricket on many occasions and be leaders in the saving of cricket. You mentioned a Tony Cozier, Red Pereira, Tony Becker, CLR James. These are men that are held in high esteem in the rest of the world, but do the Caribbean hold them in high esteem? Because we have to keep telling them about these people because most of them don't know them. They don't know anything about them. And that's why our history, not somebody else's history, our history is that important. And it starts with that. I mean, Melbourne is from a school in Jamaica that some people think it's the best high school in Jamaica. One of the reasons why is because they keep reminding us of what they did in 1950, what they did in 1940, what they did in 1960. It's a rite of passage for every student coming to that school until today, even today. But we in the Caribbean, we're looking for some Pied Piper to go follow and say, yes, he can lead us to the promised land. Our Moses is from the Caribbean. And our Moses is the people of the Caribbean. Not people from somewhere else. It's the people from the Caribbean. John, any comments? Because I know you have to go.
Well, you know, Dale and panel, as you said, Dale, we have to know our history, and those of us who know the history need to pass it on and keep pounding it, because it's going to start falling on fertile ground in some places. And then we will have more people questioning why, for instance, West Indies Cricket Board, a lot of people probably didn't know that they are a part of the so-called ICC, and they voted against Bangladesh. you know, because maybe they are beholden to India, and they can't vote against India. So it probably comes down to who we put in office to lead West Indies cricket and move away from our friends next door and start trying to find people who can actually lead West Indies cricket and make decisions that will benefit West Indies cricket.
Yes, thank you very much, John. And this has been a very, very lively discussion, very vibrant. And speaking about the thanks to Vernon for bringing up the financial side of it. We know what everybody says about India, But again, John, you yourself said it would be interesting to see if the 9 or 10 full member countries just simply say, you know what, we have had enough of this. Let us take our losses and start somewhere else again. Will someone be brave and bold enough to do it? Some weeks ago, Gus mentioned something similar, that where you hit them is in the pockets. And if Pakistan's game was not important to ICC and to India, why would they beg or want Pakistan to play that match? And if it didn't matter to them, look who generated 250 viewers. The USA.
250 million.
250 million viewers. The USA. So it is telling you that if these people become brave enough and say, you know what, you could do all you want to do. If we are not there for you to play ball with, it doesn't matter. You won't have all of that revenue, and nobody's gonna want to broadcast your games. I believe, Gus, I will credit you for even bringing that up. We have more power than we think we have.
We think, yeah.
You understand? So unless we keep drilling it and letting people know, listen, don't sit down there and try to be subservient to anyone. Lead, because we have leaders and we have a history of leading against all odds, especially in the face of death. And this is not in the face of death. So we have leaders, we have the intellect, we have everything.
Brother Dave,
Brother Dave, I must
when I listen to the numbers that Brother Vernon quoted as to what we were getting from the slice of the pie, you would think that even standing alone, we would be making more than that.
Yes.
But I must say, we highlighted, the importance of the game for the revenue structure for the BCCI and ICC and all the other members. And I think that is what made the game, what has now changed the whole environment, because as much as the stance would have been a stance that everybody was saying yes to Bangladesh, and it was great to see the support that Pakistan lent to Bangladesh, we did highlight the consequences of such a stance. And I think at the end of the day, the consequences of the stance was just too much for Pakistan to bear. And hence the reason why they made an about turn, regardless of what people want to say. The idea that the Bangladesh as well, who encouraged Pakistan to reconsider, because they understood that they also were going to lose out on a hell of a lot. Now, what has happened with the deal? The deal is simple. No consequences for pulling out for Bangladesh. All of a sudden, that is not an issue. You understand? So they are now back in the fold. They are now, as people say, they hug up and they make up. We're going to now not sanction you. We are going to give you a share of this World Cup money, even though you didn't play. You understand? We are going to now give you an opportunity to host a games in the next cycle or two in 2031 together with back. So you are going to face no consequences for pulling out. Now, what I wonder, the individual who this whole thing started with, you understand, which is the young man, is he going to be compensated now by KKR for losing $1 million or more in his contract? That is that side of it. No one is talking about that. You understand? Because they kiss and make. I'm seeing where Pakistan now there was even more things in the pipeline. Some of the Afghanistan players, because of the geopolitics again in Pakistan, some of them may not be able to play in the PSL. Because of what is happening outside of the game. So the politics and the cricket, it seemed to be, it's clashes, and it's going to make it very, very difficult for a lot of these players and teams going forward, the countries going forward. But it just goes to show that at the end of the day, Pakistan could not handle the consequences of not playing that game on the 15th.
But August, I also want to ask something. Why is every time we have a World Cup, whether it be 50 over or T20, India and Pakistan is in the same zone?
But that's what I was saying to our host a few months, because it's a big money spinner. It's a big money spinner. That is more important than Bangladesh not taking part in the whole tournament. You don't understand. They just bring in Scotland. You think they're worried whether Bangladesh played or not? No. But a Pakistan, India clash is billions of dollars. I mean, think about it. Sri Lanka, where the game was supposed to be played, it was played at in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, right? The Sri Lankan government, the Sri Lankan cricket board was also part of that negotiation because they said, look, hotels were booked up long before. You know, think about it. Tickets were sold out months in advance for that particular game. You know, concessions that were given out, you know, the kind of resources that was already expanded for this particular clash. You know, it was just astronomical. The media rights, X, Y, and Z. So you can imagine that game is not played. The amount of people could have been sued. We talked about that a few weeks ago, and Professor was saying, no, the game. I said, no, that game, they have to play it no matter what.
Have to play.
to
Well,
play.
we only have to look, Gus, and see what happened in the World Cup, which was held in the Caribbean and the United States of America. ICC spent over 40-something million to build a stadium just for the same game that you're talking about, Gus, India versus Pakistan. And in the end, they just ripped down the stadium and nobody benefited anything in terms of from the stadium. Brought in a dropping pitch from Australia, right? Yeah. Up until now, you know, it's quite strange, Gus, Dale, and John. Cricket West Indies was boasting how much money they made from the World Cup. That they were
100 million.
Right? But we never heard, we on this side, I don't know if Professor SosoBone heard, we never heard how much money USA Cricket Board made.
And those are the questions we're supposed to raise on this platform because the very fact that we never heard, which it means that nobody asked or nobody raised the question. I represent the fans, I like to say at all times, so that I don't care if Pakistan ever play against India. I just want the fans to know what's going on. I don't care if Bangladesh ever get a dime from ICC. I just want the fans to know what's going on. Somebody has to blow the trumpet when the enemy is coming and when the enemy is in retreat. That is our responsibility as media, not to care about who is right and who is wrong. That's our opinion. The fact is that there is this consistent ICC putting two warring factors together because it's good for business. They get more advertisement and more fuel marketing out of saying Pakistan is not coming, okay, than if Pakistan had said from the very beginning, we will be there. Gus knows that. John knows that. The more you talk about something, there's nothing that bad advertisement. We talk about that. If they had never said they were not coming, we would not be talking about it now. It was good business for ICC. When you check Google, they were the top of the search pattern link.
But we're hearing from the underground that the game might still not be played.
No, the game is going to be played. The game, as
Gus
Gus said, because there are going to be consequences. A lot of the smaller nations, based on the model that I just followed there, are going to suffer. They cannot survive. They cannot survive.
John, back to a point that you brought up. If the ICC, quote unquote ICC, is made up of all of these countries, they are the ones who are actually voting for this thing to be set up in the way it is set up, you know.
That's right. Conflicts and all.
So if the West Indies, and it comes back down to the leadership, if the West Indies and any of the other countries are not brave enough to say, you know what, we're not going to vote for this, then what is going to happen then? Everything is going to come crashing down.
Dale, remember West Indies walked away from a tour in India. Remember there was consequences where we still owe the Indian Cricket Board, we were pardoned or given a reprieve. So you have to understand the geopolitics that we don't have a choice. We have to vote because anytime, Dale, that we raise our head and we vote against the whole stuff there, that 40-something million that the BCCI lost during that period of time, Cricket West Indies will have to find that, right? That is something they have in our coppers. And just breaking news again, I show Professor SosoBone has seen it there. You know, because my role as well too. So I heard today, CPL is returning back to Jamaica. And so I know Professor SosoBone was talking about that, but the Minister of Sports in Jamaica is excited. And just as what you guys were talking about, see what she's excited about? CPL, right? Which as me and Gus been talking about, CPL is doing nothing for the development of the game.
Right.
Because but the
But
commercial
isn't that a
aspect,
group from Pakistan,
yes,
Vernon?
yes. They're the
It
new
has
owner.
been finalized because up to
Finalized.
last night,
Finalized.
a matter of fact, up to this morning, I was listening to a program
finalized,
from
John.
okay. I was listening to a
Finalized.
program from Jamaica, and they were saying that the deal is dead.
Finalized, John. Finalized.
Okay.
If I tell you, hear me out, John.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will not bring non-factual news to you because I'm going to get the panel in trouble. When Vernon Springer tell you that it is finalized,
Yeah.
you know that it is finalized.
Gentlemen, all that we are saying is all well and good, and as I will keep preaching it, without understanding the history and going back to our roots and knowing what we are capable of, and not looking to pander for money or whatever from anybody. The professor say he don't care about this because he's for the fans. Likewise, I only care about equality, and at whatever cost, that is what your aim has to be. And as much as there are consequences, remember, the consequence don't fall on one side of the coin. It falls on two sides. So it must be important to India for these games to be played just as much as we are saying it is important for Pakistan, because India don't want to lose that revenue also. Pakistan can't afford to lose it, West Indies can't afford to lose it. But guess what? India can't afford to lose it either. And I think that we are focusing on what we are afraid to lose and not what India is afraid to lose, because that is also very important. There are two sides to every coin. And if it is bad for me, it's going to be bad for you too if I don't play, because then who are you going to play against? Who are your sponsors going to, the media rights? Who is going to pay all that money for the media rights to see you play against whichever team? Who is going to do
but that's provided if everybody decides that they're not going to do it.
Yes, and that is the point.
And that's
that is
the
point.
That is if everybody decides at the same time we are not going to do it. We're coming together to unified force against one. But we cannot have a unified force of one against the rest. That's the problem.
and that might be true, Gus, but it starts not with 1,000 seeds. It starts with one. And once one person starts it, others will get brave also. And that is what I will predict here tonight, that eventually something like that is going to happen.
I'm supportive of an ideal. You know, as I say, in a fair world, in an ideal world, this is what we would want. But I can guarantee you that in the cricketing world that we are dealing with right now, it is not going to happen.
Not happening.
As I told Professor,
let's concentrate on West Indies.
Unless you have, as Professor says, that Saudi Arabian that has more money than the BCCI, come and say, come on this side, guys. And that's the only way. Other than that, all it is, as old people say, old talk.
All talk.
I'm sorry.
On that note,
well, somebody need to make up a budget for West Indies cricket. And when you make up the budget, you present the budget to the 28 nations that have a budget, and tell them what their contribution is to be, because obviously nobody has done it. Okay, because we know what we need to do. So let's talk about a solution. We know what the problem is. The problem is we are not putting the money we have in the West Indies into developing cricket. How much do we need? Brother Dale is a numbers man, Vernon is a numbers man. Maybe we can quote a number. And maybe you ask them now to break it down and we send it to them and we publish it. That if we get XYZ, we can rebrand and rebuild West Indies cricket. Every government have a budget. They give this to agriculture, education, healthcare. Every part of, and every island have a sports minister. What does she do with her budget? Do you know how much time John will tell you how much time I've called out my sports minister in Jamaica by name on radio? Okay. Where is the money for sports? And is cricket a part of this cultural sport? So if it is, how come there's no investment in it? Or when we go to a Cricket Hall of Fame meeting, we can never at one time say that we got a dime When you look at their budget, there's not a line item that says cricket. But they brag about Lawrence Rowe and all the other guys. We have to call them out on the program. Let them know that the media's got them under a microscope. Yes, Minister Grange is very happy CPL is coming back because maybe I stop calling her name on these programs.
And Springer, before you go, Springer, who is going to bankroll that franchise?
The one in Jamaica?
Mm-hmm.
Pakistan.
I think Wazim is behind. I think Wazim and some folks are behind that one there as well too.
There you go.
Listen,
so, Professor, you understand exactly what we're talking about.
But banks are there for you to borrow money from. We'll borrow their money. We're not borrowing their people to train them in Jamaica. Cricket is a business, all right? You go find the guy who's got the money and use it to bankroll your business and pay him back. Okay? Because when we build West Indies cricket and it goes back to where it used to be, they don't own us. It's not the pitch, it's the people. Not the stadium.
Dale, and I know going forward, just a recommendation, and I know Gus would want to entertain this. I want us to next time around. I know we got the World Cup is going to be high on the scene, but I really want us to start to talk about, to look at the education for our young cricketers, male and female. Yeah. There are some female cricketers living in Antigua and Barbuda right now, right, who are contracted by Cricket West Indies. And I'm concerned that if they don't make the team tomorrow, what happens when they go back to their respective territories? Mm-hmm. We have a University of the West Indies 5 Island campus in Antigua and Barbuda. We have to start thinking about getting those folks involved in some short course program to be able to help them. I think what we're doing around the Caribbean is just have the people playing cricket, but we're not looking to develop them after cricket. Mm-hmm. Young Matthew Miller, who the Leeward Islands under-19 captain, under-17 captain, he's just gone off to England last week, Sunday, to Bede School in England for 2 years to study, right? We got to start looking to be able to make sure the Jackie Pollards and all these young guys who just come back from the World Cup, we got to start to put them in an environment to look after them, because the world is changing. It's not like when Gus' family gave him this entire support and they took up all the coppers and tell him, oh yes, go ahead and go and play cricket. You know, those guys don't have that kind of support system around now, especially in the communities. So we need to now be able to now create a new platform. You got Professor SosoBone in the United States of America. How do we get young guys to get university scholarships to come to the States and learn something, or even be part of the West Indies? Jason Holder is a product of what Professor Hilary Beckles was setting up with the academy, with the high performance, that was eventually shut down because some people didn't understand the vision of what was taking place. Is not everybody can play for West Indies team.
That's right.
But we need to be able to create better human beings, boys and girls.
I think we certainly had that.
Vernon, that's a very important point, and I can assure you, unlike maybe many others, right now, we are directly involved in cricket with 3 high schools in Jamaica. 3 high schools that a few years ago were not playing cricket at all. They had stopped playing cricket. And we talk about solutions. That might seem like a very minuscule thing. But if we don't take the bull by the horns and try to lead, and that is what we are doing. I can tell you that I'm involved in it. So I know, I'm not talking about what I hope will happen. I know how much money it takes for each of these schools to buy gears for them, to for coaching, for everything. But the focus, as Vernon just said, is not just on cricket. The focus is on the well-rounded individual who can contribute to nation building in the Caribbean. Every year, we bring up about 15 boys between footballers and track and field athletes who graduate from high school to get scholarships in these United States so that their tertiary education can continue. And that is what we do. So there are people out there doing the very same things that we're talking about, but they don't have any help. They don't have any support, but they find a way to do it. And that is what I'm trying to say to us. Keep on knocking, Keep on hammering, because eventually you're gonna find you're getting results, because people are getting results in other forms, other sports. They are getting those results. I have said it before, in Jamaica, we had approximately 80 schools playing in the cricket competitions. Right now, we just have a little over 20, about 24, 25. And that you're talking about 25 out of 80 schools. And that used to play, and now they don't play. So if you don't fix that from that grassroots level, we could talk about development and whatever we want to talk about. But if we don't fix that side of it and get the children back to playing the sport, then whatever we do up top, it's not gonna have any effect. We have to start at the bottom, and we have to put our money where our mouths are and say, okay, we're gonna invest in developing West Indies cricket.
I want to end on this note very quickly, Dale, because I know John got to go. And I want to say, a couple of the Australian boys who were in the Australian team came with different schools to the Sir Garfield Sobers Schools competition in Barbados. And you have teams that come from Australia, from South Africa, from England. And we in the Caribbean don't see the need to be able to make sure that from around the region that we have a school team or an academy team going to the Sir Garfield Sobers Schools competition in Barbados. Where you think Brian Lara came from? Gus will tell you, Fatima College went to the Sir Garfield Sobers School, in fact, went to the Sir Garfield Sobers competition in Barbados. And what happened? The great man saw him. So I'm saying, when we're talking about school cricket, we have a base already in Barbados, where everybody from around the world comes to the Caribbean for this Garfield Sobers Schools competition. And we in the Caribbean, just like what Gus was saying, we don't feel that it is important for us to support that. To have to participate in that competition, which is in the Caribbean. But schools from Australia had 4 schools the last time. Australia, England, New Zealand, South Africa, they are coming to Barbados to play in that competition.
Yes, sir. And we need to tell our people that, and that's what we are doing now. We need to tell our people, because then our people will look at the leadership we have or the lack of leadership and ask, why are people on the outside getting fed and the kids who are here are not getting fed? This platform is here, similar to the Legacy series that Dale has not mentioned, where we pull people out of the community, identify them, what they're doing to make a difference. So when Dale spoke about those high schools and how many of them are now playing cricket, he's referring to people who are doing things, because in the act of us identifying them, they become mentors, or they provide an example, a pilot program, or leadership. So we are approaching this from many fronts. This panel is just one of the fronts that we have now put in place to address what we regard as problems, not a problem, problems across sports front in our community. So when we speak about lack of development, it does not rest just with cricket. We talk about that, in regards to the other sports, the interviews that John does with Netball Jamaica and the swimming teams in Jamaica and what are the other teams that we did, John?
Basketball.
Basketball.
Battlefield.
They all have the similar problem. Lack of support from the established platform that is supposed to be supporting development of sports.
Exactly. Yes, thank you, Professor. And that is what we are all about, is not just talking and banding ideas about, but the practicality. We are doing the practical stuff. And as I say, Vernon, point well taken. But again, the teams in Jamaica, they're dwindling every year. It's dwindling. And if it was not for individual persons, not business entities now, individuals taking it upon themselves to start to rebuild slowly, then there wouldn't be any schools in participating in cricket in Jamaica. So that's what we are pushing to, what we would call self-reliance. But for good and effective self-reliance, it takes a lot of good self-esteem. We have to believe that we can do it, and we have to know that we can do it ourselves, because our foreparents with lesser resources, way less resources, accomplished a great deal. So it's not about the resources, it's what you do with what you have. And if your intention is to build, well, certainly you will be building. But if your intention is to go begging and say, hey, I used to be this and I used to be that, give me some money, then you're at the mercies of whoever you're asking for that money. And they are going to set whatever bar they want to set and say, well, you have to do this for me before I give you this money. And then when you're ready to stand up for your rights, they hold a gun to your head and say, I'll take you to the court and I will sue you. And then you get afraid. But like our forefathers, my grandfather, your grandfather, whomever, there's a point where you have to stand up for what is right, regardless of consequence. And I'm not speaking from any ideal or any dream. I'm only telling you the reality of what happens in life. You push someone against the wall enough, eventually they'll come off of that wall, pushing back at you.
So, gentlemen, let me thank you for spending this, I would say, invaluable time in speaking to our community. Because while we might have been accustomed to speak to the West Indies, now we're speaking to the world. We're speaking to our diaspora, Caribbean diaspora, right across the world. Dale will let you know, and John will let you know that the platform, the SosoBone media platform, we're averaging 4 million views per month. It's not all cricket, it's the package that we have that is drawing that many people to the platform. And it's all because of the values that we're putting on the platform. Okay? That is what brings people back over and over and over. That when they come, they get value for their time. Okay? So I thank you so much for being able to have this expanded and deep discussion. Because when all is said and done, we have hit so many different areas that there's no one who's going to say they did not find something here that resonated with them. And that is what we are supposed to do. Serve the breadth and the depth of our community. Thank you so much. And we look forward to our next session as we step forward into the future. Thank you so much.